This is our lovely editor, Miss Sierra Hahn. She's the editor on all three of these projects that we're going to be introducing today. I'm going to let her introduce the town.
Thanks for coming out, everybody. We're really excited to be working with these three individuals on projects that are all launching this fall. So I'm just going to go ahead and call everybody out. These really amazing creators and artists in their own right. The first one I would like to introduce is a young adult novelist named PC Cast and her daughter Kristen Cast. They worked on a series of books called The House of Night. PC and Kristen. Kristen doesn't want to come on.
Sarah, we can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Hi, guys.
Okay, can you hear me now? Is that better? Yeah. All right, the next person I want to call up is Tom Morello, who's writing Orchid. And our last special guest who wasn't able to join us last night is Guillermo del Toro. And he's the writer of The Strain. So we're going to take a couple of minutes and let everyone talk for a moment or two about each of their projects that will be coming out of Dark Horse this fall. PC, we're PC.
Well, House of Night fans know that I have the only matriarchal vampires in the known universe. It's like a reverse of Buffy, although God knows we love Buffy. For House of Night fans, I can tell you that you're going to see new stuff. We're weaving modern day stuff. It starts between Marked and Betrayed. We're weaving modern day what's going on in House of Night with these amazing ancient stories of vampires. Everyone from Boudica's daughters at the beginning of the Dark Daughters to Cleopatra to Amazon Queen to Freya. It's so cool, and Dark Horse has done such an amazing job with this art. We have different artists. We have one artist, Joelle Jones, and she's downstairs. And she's doing all the modern work, but then we have different artists doing the ancient work. It is the craft is so beautiful, it's lovely. And those of you who haven't read The House of Night, you'll be able to pick it up and go, oh my God, those are so good. I'm going to go buy the books too. But it's been such a pleasure to work with this team. And I think that fans of ours and people who don't know us are both going to just love it. It's so exciting.
My name is Tom Morello, and I was a huge comic book collector as a kid and as a teen. And when I started playing guitar, I stopped collecting comic books. It was about 4 or 5 years ago that I returned to the medium and found that comics had come a long way since I was collecting the superhero titles of my youth. I decided I had a story I wanted to tell and was looking for the right medium to tell it in. And I didn't want to walk around with a screenplay, and I didn't have the time to write the great American 600-page novel. So I discovered that graphic novels and comics in this day and age, you could tell an exciting and intelligent story in that medium. And I wanted to make work that would stand alongside the best of my work in Rage Against the Machine, Audio Slave, and The Night Watchman. Gerard Way, who does the Umbrella Academy, is the singer of My Chemical Romance. We're friends, and he's the one that introduced me to my new Dark Horse family, which I've been enjoying tremendously. The story of Orchid is, I want to combine the epic grandeur of some of my favorites like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Dune, and Stephen King's The Stand with a class consciousness and with the gritty reality of the politics of street terrorism. The lead character, Orchid, is a 16-year-old street prostitute who becomes the Spartacus of whores. And an element, I've worked a lot in scoring films of somebody worked on the Iron Man movies, some other films. I'm also going to be scoring each issue of the comic, which will be a free music that will come along when you get each issue of Orchid as well. So combine the best of what I've done with hopefully a new and exciting project. So Thanks. yeah, I failed to mention that yesterday. So, Sarah reminded me to say that today. Anyway, so it's been a great experience with Dark Horse so far, and very excited about launching this new adventure, which has been very fulfilling. Thank you.
I am Guillermo del Toro, and since I never played guitar, I never stopped buying comics. I'm still trying to play guitar, but the graphic novels of The Strain, we started talking to Mike Richardson about it early on. We are now in the third book, the final book of the trilogy. Chuck Hogan and myself delivered the manuscript a couple of weeks ago to HarperCollins. It's the largest of the novels, is really hardcore and brutal. And, the idea was to not translate the novels into anything that would compress and reduce the scope of the characters, that would compromise the brutality that we inflict upon the characters. We are very mean to our characters. Shit happens to them that I find mean. And we knew perfectly well that they would not survive as a movie adaptation, and we wanted to preserve all that stuff, and we went at it to create this series of books, the comic books, and we handpicked who was going to participate in them. And we are both very, very, very involved. I don't believe in creating stuff that I'm not involved in. Whether it's toys, collectibles, DVDs, Blu-rays, whatever. I want to be completely involved because as a fan and a collector, I don't want to pay for the name of the motherfucker above the title. He didn't do shit. We check every piece of art. We approve every character design, who's the colors, we approve the screenplays. Fortunately for me, I love them. It's like, they must think I'm easy because I go, fucking great. Normally I'm not like that, but because we handpicked the people that were gonna do them, it's been an easier job because I am a big fan. So hopefully if you like the books, you will love the comic books. We're trying to expand the mythology, and in fact some stuff that came up in generating the art of the books influenced the third book from the comics, so it's been a fantastic process, and I hope you like them and you find them as brutal as the novels. Thank you.
And I just wanted to say a few things so you know when all of these titles are coming out. Orchid will be coming out in October, House of Night in November, and The Strain will start in December. So look out for them then.
Merry Christmas.
The money thing. I just found out about this shit. Oh, it's a surprise.
And that shit is working.
We're announcing that tomorrow.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're announcing it tomorrow. Never mind.
We actually have another announcement about all three of these titles, which we'll be making tomorrow, which is very exciting, especially for any comic retailers that might be in the crowd today.
You guys are gonna love this.
And if you want me to score your comic, I'll score it too. I don't recommend it.
So really quickly, we're actually going to go to Q&A pretty quickly because we figured there's probably a lot of people in here who want a chance to talk to these guys. Before we get there, I was going to maybe have Sierra talk for a minute about how some of the artists and writers selected working with these guys came about.
I feel very on the spot now. Well, each project sort of came together differently. Tom is working with an artist named Scott Hepburn. He's fantastic, and I think he's doing the best artwork of his career, and he's created a very lush, vibrant, fantastic world. With The Strain, we brought together David Lapham, who you may know from Stray Bullets. He's also an artist in his own right, as well as a writer. So he's been working with Guillermo on the scripts. And the artist is Mike Huddleston. He's done a lot of titles for Vertigo, some self-publishing and books with Image. We also, on Orchid, have a cover artist. His name is Massimo Carnaval. You might know his stuff from comics like Northlanders or Why the Last Man. And with PC, we have an incredible cover artist named Jenny Prison and Joelle Jones, who's going to be doing the bulk of the interior. It's going to be a 5-issue arc. Kent Dallion, is that how you say his last name? He's adapting the story, creating the story alongside PC. So we have a very collaborative, flow of work. Everybody has a say. Everybody's very involved. We can't do anything without these guys.
Kent Dallion, who's doing my adaptation with me, I'm working very closely with him. He adapted Mark, the first book in the House of Night, to the screenplay. And that's how I met him. He's so fabulous. So he's living in the House of Night world for like 2 years.
And actually, in the realm of art, I want to do a quick call out to our art director back there, Ms. Leah Rabacci, who's done an amazing job of putting the look and feel of these titles together. She may never forgive me for that. We're actually going to go ahead and go straight to questions. So if you guys want to kind of line up here in the center, we'll go one at a time.
One last thing about art, we were very fortunate to have Shepard Fairey do an alternate cover for the first issue of Orchid. He's been a friend for some time. I've been a huge fan of his work. It was great for him to pitch in on the project. Good dude, tremendously talented.
Additionally, tonight there's an event across the street called Trickster. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of it. It's sort of a collective of indie cartoonists who are selling books, selling prints. It's a free event. I hear they have sushi. I hear they have a bar. They're having all sorts of things going on. But one thing in particular that's happening tonight, I think they'll open the doors at 9:30. At 10 p.m., Tom will be playing some songs. So it'll be a free...
I will be dancing.
A free event to hear Tom play. There will also be a Q&A session. It'll be a more intimate sort of time to talk with him about the project, or hear him talk about the project. So, it's going to be a first come, first served basis. It's going to be small, but I think a really great opportunity if you're interested in having. So the show should start at 10 o'clock tonight.
I'm realizing we don't actually have a mic in the center, so nobody actually has to stand up except for you. But you're already there, so let's go ahead and
Ask a question now.
question. Well,
Are you going to be dancing tonight?
Yes. I have my Borat swimsuit with me. Be prepared.
I think it's all ages. Yeah.
You guys know if you're supposed to be available digitally on Dark Horse Digital? Can we talk about that?
yes, actually, all of these titles will be available digitally. They will be day-and-date titles, which is also part of an announcement that ties into something we're going to be talking about tomorrow, which is going to be the pricing for these titles. Fortunately, I can't do those details just yet because we're actually saving it for a common retailer.
Oh, we didn't see it.
And did you have a real question?
Yeah.
Since you got
Actually, I like this is what everyone else said. The effects style, I like, because it has this real feeling, kind of like old school Star Wars, where it's like tangible, that you're not completely killing it, CGI completely do it in an organic way. And I just think that's really cool. Is there like an influence, like, from younger experience, or someone that's characters that they use just in your head, or something
Yeah.
experience?
Well, he's asking about, in my movies, I try to mix the practical with the digital and not just go digital. It depends. Like Pan's Labyrinth was very influenced by an illustrator I love called Arthur Ragland. That used to illustrate children's Victorian fairy tale books. There are some symbolist painters I love in Pan's Labyrinth, like Carlos Schwab, Odilon Redon. So it varies from movie to movie. In the sense with Hellboy, the first one, it was Jack Kirby was a big influence for us. On the second one, I went a little more insane. When we were doing Blade 2, we were literally using Mignola as a consultant, and he was there with us designing it. So it varies, but in terms of using, I think that you use the technology that you need. A lot of people use digital only because they're lazy as fuck. I think it's not like Queen in the LPs where it says no synthesizer. No. It's not a sense of purity. I think digital is a great medium, digital effects. You just use it when that's the only way you can use it.
You create more of a timeless piece.
Yeah, well, I try. Also, I do it for a very selfish reason. Because I keep the shit. If I do a maquette or a model or a monster, I buy it back from the production and it goes to my office, to my home office, which is a very strange house called Bleak House. I do it as a collector.
Okay. Tom,
Yes.
musician, I love comic books. How do you transition your stories you have in your head and get into to actual fruition? How did it go from idea to actual book?
Yeah. Well, I had the idea about 3 years ago and asked myself that same question. I was just trying to find the right medium to bring this story to life. And I actually spent some time with a guy named, a good friend of mine named Jack Olson, who's a accomplished screenwriter. And I said, here's my story. What should I do with it? The first thing he said was, you should sit down and write a 700-page novel. I said, I have to rock the world. I don't have time to do that. What's plan B? So we sat down and we kind of minced through some of the plot points, and he pointed out any sort of errors in logic along the way. And that's when I really started getting more heavily into graphic novels. And there's books like Waltz with Bashir and V for Vendetta that were my kind of entry drug into this era of books and graphic novels. I thought, this is a medium where you can talk, you can do anything you can do in music, any idea you can do in music, in film, in literature, now you can do in graphic novels as well. And I wanted to be the story to have both the excitement and the weight of the ideas contained in it. There's a lot of exciting chases and monsters, but it's also sort of deeply embedded in my political worldview, and comics now can do that to its fullest extent.
Yeah, you got to get in and talk for a while. What is graphic novel bring to you that you can't get from music right now? What's the additional plus?
What's the additional plus
For you as a creator, as an artist? Right.
First of all, I've been a graphic novel comic fan since I was a young girl in the 70s, because I grew up with boys and was raised by a man. So when everyone else was Barbie dolling and that kind of stuff, I was Swamp Thinging and Thor, and Superman is still my boyfriend. And so that is a wonderful full circle moment for me to see me on those shelves now. It's just like, ah! It's wonderful. But I love seeing it come to life. I'm a big art collector anyway, and it's so cool to see a really excellent artist get into my head somehow and bring Zoe out. Like when you guys saw the big reveal of the wall, if you look at Kristen, my very beautiful daughter who's sitting back there, you'll notice that there's a distinct similarity between Kristen and Zoe, as because I based Zoe on Kristen. It's awesome to see that come to life and to see my world come to life. That's a huge perk for me, and I'm like a huge fan of it. That's what it is. I'm just fangirl going, wow, this is so cool. And then I get to sit next to these guys.
Catherine Wisher.
Yeah, I've read all of your comics tonight,
Thank you.
and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
How do you take a full book, like first, I suppose, something like where you're going to start?
It's starting between Marked and Betrayed.
Okay.
I don't do it. Kent Dowling does it. And it's the same way he does, I just do it with, he does it and then I read it and then we talk, and he takes specific dialogue out of things. He's like, he always says, WWPCW. What would PC write? That's what he says when he's writing it. I think it's adapted much like a screenplay is adapted from a novel. It becomes very visual. It's an art that I'm not good at, which is why Kent's doing it. These people somehow make what I've written a picture that tells my story with just a little bit of my dialogue. I think it's fabulous. It's intriguing, and they're doing a really, really good job too.
I have a question for Tom. I love the idea of scoring a comic book. It's very different than with a movie because you don't control the pace at which the reader is reading. Can you talk about that process?
Yeah. Well, the one part of the process that I prefer in scoring a comic as opposed to like working on the Iron Man movies is that while I very much enjoy working on the score for the Iron Man movies. In that, I have a boss. In this, I do not. The majority of the score will be instrumental. And something that I've always wanted to explore with my guitar playing is to incorporate elements of Celtic, African, rock music, but have all the instrumentation be made with guitars. And so it's sort of a brand new kind of musical horizon for me to be attempting as well. So I mean, the average length of a song that you'll have access to with each issue will probably be 4 to 6 minute range. So unless you're a very, very fast reader, you may not be able to. You just have to put that son of a bitch on replay. But the idea is that at the end of the day, it's a 12-issue arc, and it'll be a 12-song score, CD score that will go with it.
With most of comic books going to digital copies, where you read on the iPad and computer, do y'all see that as good for y'all, or do y'all kind of see that as moving away from like the actual comic book idea?
Actually, I think really ultimately what's exciting about digital is that it opens up new possibilities and new ways to read. I mean, for instance, what Tom's talking about doing, scoring a comic book is something that really hasn't been done a lot or ever before at all. So, I mean, these kinds of things can enhance a reading experience, obviously. I mean, believe me, I've been going to the comic shop since I was 5 years old with my grandmother. There's a part of me that really loves the tangibility of holding and reading, a comic. But then there's also that part of me that's like a 32-year-old, or 34-year-old that says to myself, well, I really don't want to wait a month to find out what's going to happen next. So there's things that change about the way that you read things, and I think that for instance, I read comics more in graphic novels now. But ultimately, I just got an iPad, and I'm like, I'll never be one of those dudes. And then the first time I read one of our comics on there, I was like, I'm totally one of those dudes. So I think that ultimately, what it really does for us and for the comics medium in general is it expands the possibility. Because the people who are buying comics digitally right now, they're looking for content. They're people who are maybe searching Guillermo del Toro on iTunes, and ultimately, a lot of times, they're going to take, sometimes what's cheapest or just something that just looks appealing in that moment. It's a much quicker process. You don't have to, go to the store, with something in mind that you're looking for. You look up Tom Morello, you find out Night Watchman Records, and you find Orchid, and that's awesome because that means that Tom's fans, maybe there's Tom's fans who don't know that he's doing a comic series, but will find out about it when looking for his music. And so, it really opens the possibility to expanding our audience, which is something that, obviously we want to do, because guys like me are only getting older. So, 2 years older than I thought I was.
For Guillermo, I know you were talking about the concept of doing a show based on the film, and how is that moving along? Are you still looking for theatric or
Well, we from the moment the first publication, the first novel, when it hit the top 10 in the New York Times, we got a lot of calls. We want to buy it for TV and movies. I flat out refused to ever sell it for movies. They said, I am not interested, because I know what happens to that. And I live in that neighborhood, and it's not a safe neighborhood. so I didn't want it to move there. But I always thought it would make a great TV series for cable where you don't have restrictions. But we made a promise, Chuck and I, we said we're not going to pursue anything until we finish the third novel, anything audiovisual. Why? Because you start censoring yourself. Oh, what if they don't like this? Fuck them. Fuck them. Like, let's be ruthless, brutal, insane, and then if they want it, it's there, it's done. They cannot tell us, oh, we don't want you to do this or do that. Like, it's there, you brought it, screw you. So we wanted to keep that control, and we didn't want to be affected by it. Like, oh, let's put a chase, or let's create a really exciting action scene. Fuck that. You have that when you're working in movies. Why try to cross-pollinate your own censorship? Like, why censor yourself? So we didn't. Now we delivered the third book, and we're going to explore and talk to different people that are very interested, but we are literally, a couple of weeks ago, we turned in the manuscript, and now we're going to start that process, but it's likely it will happen.
We have one down the end.
Are any of these going to be tuned around like lumping all of the series together?
Yes, all of these will be collected, and they'll be collected by many series. So,
my hope is that yes, all 12 are one day collected with that CD. But we've talked about sort of having 3-4 issue arcs to begin with.
and then the strain will be 3. And we've got 1.
Yes.
Could everyone hear that?
Yeah.
Yes. The answer is
Yes.
Sort of.
Any more questions? Right here.
What's the most difficult battle with censorship that you've had to deal with?
You know, the thing is, the censorship works, the worst censorship is the one you impose on yourself. I mean, I was just talking to a director that I'm producing a movie in Toronto for him while I'm pre-producing Pacific Rim. And we're going to shoot on the stage next door, first time director. And he said something really crazy last night at dinner. He says, I want to try, it's a studio movie. And he said, I want to do this image. I said, but I don't think they'll go for it. They said, you know what, let them tell you that. You go for it, you do it. Don't be prudent. You're not going to get a medal for being prudent. You know, be imprudent, be crazy, that's why you're an artist. And let them try to shut us down. So, you know, I think that's the worst censorship, the first one. When you go, oh, this won't sell. What the fuck? You know, like, when you say, oh, maybe people will like it more. I mean, I remember in Pan's Labyrinth, we were showing it in Santa Barbara Film Festival, and one academic member got up and he said, you know, that scene with the bottle where you destroy the nose, he said, you know that's going to cost you the Academy Award. And I go, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't want to have the movie I want to have. I'm not making a Hollywood movie. I'm making a movie in complete freedom, and I want to do it like that. So the second level is when people are the prudential censorship. I work in a genre that you need to be very imprudent to work in that one. And so that's the second one. The third one is really when you work in a Hollywood movie, that's really, you're battling censorship in one form or another every day of the whole process. From the beginning to the end, common wisdom is not wisdom at all. So they want to do shit that has been done 100 million times. You want to do stuff that hasn't been done, and it's a constant battle with that. And then you come to the MPAA, which is like the last 7th circle of censorship, and then you get surprises. You know, you go like, oh, I mean, a huge studio movie can decapitate 80 people and it gets a PG-13, but if you know, so you battle it all the way, but I think that the one that is crucial to battle, the first one, where you lose all the battles if you don't fight that one, is yourself.
Any other questions? Right here.
Guillermo, I know you have to jump around in the Hobbit, but how much involved are you still?
We finished the screenplay, writing together, and I'm not involved anymore. It was a great experience, and now it's in Peter's hands, and it's great, and I'm very excited to see it. But you know, we write each other through email. Last week, I knew he was in London before anyone else knew he was in London. I knew what he was preparing, but we just exchanged emails in a friendly way. But I'm not involved. I have a gigantic movie, brutally gigantic movie that we're preparing in Toronto that needs my attention, and then I have this little first-time director that I'm trying to shepherd into doing his first movie there. So I'm like already busy enough, and that is not like they need my help, right?
Any good question, what project were you talking about?
Which one in Toronto? It's called
The one that he's asking about.
The Hobbit. You didn't speak loud enough.
Yeah, I didn't hear, no.
He was saying, was I still involved in The Hobbit?
Right, okay.
It's just a small indie film. Right here.
My
fantasy aspect. It's the do anything aspect for me. It's everything from the superhero, the normal person who becomes a superhero, to the scary, strange guy with the really, really scary comics that are fabulous, but really super scary. I think because the genre is so big, and it's just, I think one of the things the three of us do have in common is an imagination. We have imaginations, and so we can see it and put whatever we want in it. And there's not a lot of things you can do that with. I think it's fabulous like that.
I really like the uncompromising aspect of it, which I've woven into my music as well, and been able to get away with that, so I look forward to doing that in comics too.
I'm more or less in the same vein. I just want to be in a place where imagination can run wild and can be uncensored, and I love it. And as a comic book fan, you know, I'm working with guys I admire. I mean, I was a huge fan of The Coffin, the comic books. We actually bought the rights to The Coffin about a decade ago, and Jim Cameron and I, he was going to produce it, and I wrote a screenplay with Matthew Robbins. I was going to direct The Coffin, and I was a huge fan of the art and the writing, and with David I was a huge fan of Stray Bullets. So I think that what I try to do is I am incredibly, you know, I have like lifelong ADD. Like I want to learn everything. Look, I didn't get this far by being prudent. You know, I want to do everything. I want to experiment with everything. I want to do everything in the world. I want to jump from a plane, eat 50 chickens, write a trilogy of novels, do a TV series, and everything. And I really love that I learn from everything I do. I learn from writing the novels, things that are useful in writing my screenplays. I learn from writing screenplays that are useful in writing the comics, and I learn from the comics stuff that is useful. And so it's, you know, you're right about what we do for a living, but ultimately the best type of life is the one that has no definition. You know, like, I do everything that I can with the same madness, and comics was one thing as a collector, waiting every month for the new issue of Swamp Thing in the drugstore in Mexico in my bike, and riding back and saying, fuck it, stopping the bike and reading it in an empty lot before I got home, because I wanted to see what happened, you know? I mean, I wanted to, and I really, we tried one thing. I leave David and Mike room enough to do what they want to do. You know, the worst thing that can happen is for me to be saying, the novel is not like that. That's stupid. It's not the novel. I wanted a comic book. Because these days, the one thing I don't like about a lot of the comics is that they seem to be auditions for a movie. And they seem to be like, please make my movie comics. And I go, that's shit. And what I admire, I say each medium should have its own power. The comics should be nothing like the novel. If we do our job right, they should enhance it. You should go, oh, I learned something new. So to learn something new.
We have time for probably one more question, right back here.
Actually, a brief two-parter. Love to hear if there's anything ever from Mimic that's going to go to other mediums, all the Walking Dead, zombies, infestation, body snatchers. I want to see more. Second part, I was at a studio the month that Sam Raimi left, Spider-Man, and then the new director for Getting Sword. Your name came about. I can't tell you the cool shockwave that hit the studio. But I've always heard politically correct reasons of why you didn't. Is there anything you can share with us, like, you know, why it didn't happen?
Yeah, no, first of all, on Mimic, you asked on Mimic. Mimic, there's a new edition coming out in September with a very politically incorrect audio commentary. It's really, I tell it as much as I can legally as it happened. So it's very blunt. And it's a new cut. It's called the director's cut. It's like, it should be called what the director could do cut. But we did the best we could. Some of the best stuff was never shot, but it's I'm very happy with the movie now, which is it brings closure to that chapter for me. So hopefully you'll get it. It's on Blu-ray and DVD in September. As far as superhero movies, Most every superhero movie done since the early 2000s, I get offered. And I turned all of them down because I sincerely love to read the books. I love the characters, but it's what you see. Buying a book and loving it, you need to say, am I the right guy for this superhero? And they are huge. Some of them are gigantic, brutal, multi-zillion-dollar franchises, and I still have to do it by principle and no, I'm not the guy. And I was a massive Spider-Man fan as a kid. I was a member of the Mexican Spider-Man Club. We have no fucking money for rings.
Which is a very good band name.
I think I have it.
It's a third world country. The only ring they would send you was around your collar. There was no rings in the Mexican Spider-Man. but at the same time, I have to ask myself, is it like Hellboy? I would give both my nuts. And I have given a chunk. Swamp Thing, I would kill for Swamp Thing. Sandman, Jack Kirby's Beast, Doctor Strange, all the freaky fuckers. I mean, but if it's a little straight, like I still don't get some aspects of the more straight superhero. So you gotta be sincere with yourself. If you start doing it because it's a good career move, you're not a filmmaker. You can be a good or bad filmmaker, that doesn't matter. If you're doing it for that shit, then you are a complete fat whore.
I'm glad I'm not here. I'm a publicist right now. Just kidding. Hey, how about a round of applause for our guests?